I'll just start by saying that I am a personal witness of the resurrected Jesus Christ. I am his advocate and I am his friend, and he is with me.
Lori Vallow Daybell grew up in the Church of Latter-day Saints and went to seminary school every day before public school. She was a cheerleader and liked to play sports, but was still a pretty shy kid. In 1992, against her family's wishes, when she turned 18, she left home and married her first husband, Nelson, her high school sweetheart. It didn't last long because she ends up marrying William LaGoya in 1995. They have their son Colby in 1996, but they eventually divorce in 1998. In 2001, she marries her third husband, Joseph Anthony Ryan Jr., and he adopted Colby, her son from her previous marriage. Lori was eager to have another baby, so they had Tylee in 2002, just a year later. Lori has been described as someone who's always had a fascination with death. She said she had a vision that she would be on Wheel of Fortune, and in 2004 she was. She spoke highly of her husband and home life, but that same year, Joseph Ryan filed for divorce, which was finalized in 2005. The custody battle over Tylee went on for years. He at one point requests that she undergo a psych evaluation because she said she would choose death over letting Tylee see her father, and she then hid Tylee for the month of August. During the time of the custody battle in 2006, she met and married Charles Vallow, who ended up joining her church after being a devout Catholic all his life. They got married in Vegas and he had 2 sons from his previous marriage. This is about the time when they moved to Arizona from Texas. Lori's family says that Charles was the best of all her husbands and that they all seemed really happy together. He earned around $20,000 a month and she didn't have to work anymore. She enjoyed the life that she lived. In 2007, Lori's brother Alex Cox attacked Joseph Ryan, her third husband, tasing him twice and threatening to kill him. Alex pled guilty to aggravated assault and spent 3 months in jail. Alex claimed that he did it in self-defense and to protect Lori and the kids from Ryan, who he claimed was abusing them, but investigators have not proved this claim. Lori's family says it's true, but her family really gives me the creeps and I don't believe a word any of them say. Jumping ahead 7 years, in 2014, Lori and Charles adopt JJ, his sister Kay's grandson, who was diagnosed with autism. Kay and her husband Larry had a business that made it difficult to be available like they wanted to be for JJ with his disability and thought that Lori and Charles would make great parents. Kay and Larry loved their grandson very much and still kept in communication with him on FaceTime regularly. After adopting JJ that same year, the family moved to Hawaii from Arizona. The family seemed to be happy, and everyone, including Kay and Larry, talk about how great of a mom Lori was to her kids and how patient she was with JJ. At one point, Lori was a hairdresser, but Lori homeschooled Tylee. Somewhere between 2014 and 2016, Lori started reading Doomsday books and became a super fan of the author, Chad Daybell. These books were fictional, but Lori and Chad's following took them as gospel. Somewhere between 2016 and 2017, Lori and her husband Charles Vallow moved back to Arizona, leaving Hawaii. Soon after, on April 3rd, 2018, Joseph Ryan dies and the cause of death was a heart attack, and he is cremated. He was pretty young for a heart attack. Later that year in the fall, Lori meets the author of the Doomsday books, Chad Daybell, at an event called Preparing a People. Chad tells her that they had been married 7 times before and that she had lived many lives before. He speaks to her about his belief that people are either light or dark. People who are darker are closer to hell. This is in regards to their thoughts, beliefs, and actions, not their skin color. Charles Vallow confronts Lori about Chad and asks if she's cheated on him. She denies having an affair, but then in turn accuses Charles of cheating. In Lori's eyes, Charles has turned dark because of his actions against her, and she basically snaps. On January 31st, 2019, she cancels his flight home from a business trip, takes his truck from the airport where it was waiting for him, throws out all of his clothes, and takes out $35,000 from their bank accounts. Charles called the police saying his wife has lost her mind and that she needed help. She told them that she said that he wasn't Charles. She didn't know who he was, but that she could murder him with her powers. There's body cam footage of this interaction with the cops, but they don't take him seriously. This sounds very similar to her situation with her third husband, Joseph Ryan. The next month, Lori told Charles that she no longer cared for him or the kids anymore and vanished for 58 days. Defeated, and after over a decade of marriage, that same month, Charles filed for divorce, but soon after stopped with the proceedings because he still had hope of making it work with Lori. But during this time, Lori had left to Hawaii and stayed there for 2 months, leaving her kids behind with other people. The summer of that year, in June 2019, Lori's niece, Melanie, suddenly wants a divorce from her husband, Brandon, to his shock because he thought everything was fine. He believes that Melanie started to believe in the teachings that Lori was following. This will make more sense in just a little bit. The next month, in July 2019, Charles went to Lori's house to take JJ to school, but Charles forgot his phone inside the house, so he went back in to get it. Worried that he might be hiding something about his life insurance plan, Lori doesn't give Charles his phone back right away, and they begin to argue. Tylee, who is confused and likely brainwashed by her mother, goes and gets a bat to defend her mother from her seemingly loving stepfather. Lori's brother Alex claims Charles came at him with a bat and hit him in the back of the head, and that's when he shot him. But Charles played a semi-professional baseball, and if he would have hit someone in the back of the head during an altercation, there probably would have been more than just a little cut and a little bit of dripping blood. Likely what happened is Lori saw this as her last opportunity to ensure that she was the beneficiary of the $1 million payout and instructed Alex to carry out his duty as the family hitman. Unfortunately for her, Charles had changed the beneficiary to Kay months prior, hoping the money would go towards raising JJ. After killing Charles, Alex called 911 saying he shot his brother-in-law in self-defense. Again, sounding a lot like the Joseph Ryan situation, the third husband who died of a heart attack at a really young age and was cremated. Lori and the kids were gone before the police even arrived. They took JJ to school, stopping at a Burger King to get chicken fingers and a Sprite, per his usual morning routine. When they came back, Lori was unusually upbeat for someone whose husband was just killed by her brother. She's even on camera smiling and laughing about disturbing her neighbors. A bit sociopathic, even if you weren't in love with him anymore. About a month and a half after the shooting, Lori, her brother Alex, and kids moved to Idaho, where Chad Daybell and his wife live. At this point, JJ is seen only 3 more times on FaceTime, and the last call lasted only 35 seconds. Lori was known to be a little bit out there compared to her peers when it came to religion and the scripture. She took things very literally and, as mentioned before, had a fascination with death. This was only intensified when she started reading Chad's Doomsday books. This isn't when it started. It seems as though Chad and Lori feed off of one another. One thinks they're getting one over on the other, but really they're just evil people hurting other people. So here's where it's going to get a little bit more crazy. Lori and Chad believe that they were a part of the Church of the Firstborn and that they were spiritual leaders. They believed their mission was to lead the 144,000 from the Book of Revelation and to rid the world of zombies. And zombies in this case isn't your Walking Dead type of zombie, but it refers to an individual whose mortal spirit has left their body and their body is now the host of another spirit. The new spirit in a zombie is always considered a dark spirit. Lori enrolled JJ into elementary school on September 3rd, 2019. She was likely intending to continue to homeschool Tylee since Tylee wasn't enrolled into a high school. About a week later, on September 8th, Lori, Alex, and the kids go to Yellowstone Park, where a picture of Alex, Tylee, and JJ is taken, and this is the last known photo of the kids. A few weeks later, on about September 22nd, Lori tells her friend Melanie Gibb, this is another Melanie, not her niece Melanie, that she believes JJ and Tyler were possessed and that they had become zombies. Gibb says that Lori had said this once before when Tylee didn't want to babysit JJ one day. That very same day, Gibbs says that Alex picked up JJ from Lori's apartment and came back with him later that night, with JJ asleep on his shoulder. But the next morning, JJ was gone, and Lori's excuse was that JJ was acting up, so Alex came and got him in the middle of the night. 2 days after that, she unenrolls JJ from school, telling them that she's going to start homeschooling him. Now to go back to Lori's niece, Melanie, and her husband Brandon, a few months after her son filed for divorce on October 2nd, 2019, Brandon was driving one day when someone in what he says was Charles Vallow's car shoots at him, shattering his windshield. Brandon said he could see Alex Cox in the back seat pointing the gun at him. It's suspected that Melanie was trying to murder Brandon for their $1 million insurance plan payout. Something else sounding pretty familiar. Just a week after that, Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy, said someone ran up to her while she was unloading her car in her driveway and tried to shoot her with what she thought was a paintball gun, but nothing came out of the gun. She yelled for Chad and the gunman ran off. She told police and posted the event to Facebook. 10 days later, she died in her sleep of natural causes. Tammy was 49 years old and training for a marathon. She had been married to Chad married for 29 years and had 5 children with him. They founded the Spring Creek Book Company, through which he published most of his books that she oftentimes co-wrote with him. She was the CFO and book cover designer. Chad declined an autopsy when she passed and received a $430,000 payout from his insurance plan. Declining an autopsy is suspicious because she was a perfectly healthy woman who suddenly died in her sleep, and it's not really explained how. Most fathers and husbands would choose to have an autopsy in case there was an underlying condition that would affect their kids. About 2 weeks later, on October 25th, a friend of Ty Lee says she got a text from Ty Lee's number that said, "Hi, miss you guys too. Love ya." Kay and Larry started to do their own investigation. Kay worked for Chad a little bit, so she had access to a lot of his accounts. She recognized an email that was connected to Chad's Amazon, and she saw that Lori was still using his account. She was able to finally get their Idaho address and saw that 2 wedding rings were purchased 2 weeks before Tammy's death, the day of Brandon's attempted murder by Alex. On November 5th, Chad Daybell and Lori get married in Hawaii with no family and no sign of the kids. The photos show only the 2 of them. The rings match the ones on Amazon, which had unique triangular gems on them. Growing more concerned, Kay requested a welfare check at Lori's home on November 26th. When the police arrived, Chad acted strange, like he didn't even know Lori, claiming he didn't have her phone number. Alex told the police JJ was with Kay, and Lori said that he was with Gib. She asked Gib to lie to the police and tell them that JJ was with her, but she didn't. The next day, police attempted to serve a search warrant, but Lori and Chad had already left the house. They were likely in a hotel or at a friend's house. News gets to Alex, and 2 days later, on November 29th, he gets married to Zulema Pastenes in Vegas and takes her last name. Some people think this is to cover his tracks and is an attempt to disappear. On December 1st, Chad and Lori fly back to Hawaii. On December 6th, Melanie Gibbs calls and tells the police that Lori had asked her to lie about where JJ was. After the welfare check and a wedding 2 weeks after Tammy's death, the police became suspicious and exhumed Tammy's body on December 11th in order to conduct an autopsy. The autopsy took 5 to 6 hours and she was put back in her grave right after. A 2021 update on the autopsy is that even though this was conducted more than a year ago, the medical examiner just submitted the results to authorities in February of this year, 2021. Because the case is still ongoing, the results have not yet been released to the public. The very next day after Tammy's body was exhumed, autopsied, and reburied, Alex Cox dies in his wife's home 2 weeks after their wedding. His stepson called 911 and only knew him as his mother's boyfriend. He didn't know Alex's last name. It was said he died of natural causes. Finally, on December 20th, 2019, the FBI and Rexburg police announced that Ty Lee and JJ are missing endangered children. 13 days after that, on January 3rd, police search Chad's home and collect 43 items that are sent to the FBI lab for analysis. Desperate, Kay and Larry then offer a $20,000 reward to help find the kids. On January 25th, Lori is issued a notice to physically produce the children within 5 days. She ignores this request. A storage unit that they bought about a year ago was found filled with all of the kids' belongings. About a month later, on February 20th, Lori is finally arrested and her bail is set to $5 million. She's charged with 2 felony counts of desertion and non-support of dependent children, restricting or obstructing officers, criminal solicitation to commit a crime, and contempt of court. On March 6th, she has her first court appearance, and her bail is reduced to $1 million, but she's still unable to post bond. About 3 months later, on June 9th, 2019, she's still in jail when police are back at Chad's house conducting another search. While they're searching, Chad is sitting in his car across the street, worried. Lori so happens to call him while it's happening, and their conversation is just gross. It's so obvious that they did what they're being accused of, or at least got Alex to do it. I'll play some of this phone call here in a second, along with another secretly recorded phone call between the 2 of them and her friend Melanie Gibb. Listening to these phone calls gives me the creeps. This woman is just straight delusional and evil. After going to the police, Gibb agreed to record a phone call with them asking Lori why she lied to the police about where JJ was. When the police found the bodies, Chad tried to run but is pulled over about a mile away from his house and is arrested. Here I'll be describing how the bodies were found, and it does get really graphic. JJ's body was found first, buried underneath 3 large rocks that were on top of a thin piece of wood. He was wrapped in plastic held together by duct tape. In a different area, they found charred human remains and a melted bucket with human remains inside. Underneath the bucket was a piece of skull. Dental records showed that the remains belonged to Tylee. All I hope is that they didn't feel any pain when they passed. Everybody was hoping that they were hidden in some bunker somewhere, but we all knew that this was likely going to be the outcome. It's tragic, and my heart goes out to the kids and all the other victims involved, along with Kay and Larry. Chad's first court appearance was the next day. He was charged with 2 felony counts of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration or concealment of evidence, and felony conspiracy to conceal evidence charges. Still, no murder charges between the 2 of them because there isn't enough evidence, which I really don't understand, but we'll get more into that in just a bit. On June 29th, prosecutors filed felony charges against Lori, 2 felony counts of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. On July 2nd, the desertion and non-support charges were dropped because the children's bodies were found. On July 15th, 2020, Lori pleads not guilty to misdemeanor charges of resisting or obstructing officers, criminal solicitation to commit a crime, and contempt of court. On August 3rd, in preliminary court, the judge decides to advance Chad's case to district court. The next day is when the phone call between her and Chad when the bodies were found is played. He pleads not guilty to all felony charges on the 21st. A few days after that, on the 27th, Chad's lawyer asked that the entire case be dismissed. Can you believe that? It's one thing to be a defense attorney, but dang. Just throw out the whole thing and let him roam the earth when it's obvious how evil he is? Lori waived her right to a preliminary hearing, and it went straight to district court, and she pled not guilty to all felony charges. Soon after, the prosecutor, Rob Woods, files a motion to combine the cases. It would be more efficient and cost-effective since he's planning on using the same witnesses and all the same evidence. This would probably be considered a leg up for Lori because she could try to say that she was influenced by Chad and that she acted on his divine guidance. But if they pay attention, they'll know that she's been this kind of kooky since way before Chad came into the picture. He just amplified it and she egged him on. Chad would likely prefer not to have the case combined and probably feels like she would make his outcome worse. Another update is that the East Idaho News got a recording of Lori saying that she was going to murder Joseph Ryan, her 3rd husband. Well, duh. She said this at a meeting in October of 2018. She quotes a scripture talking about how if someone comes after you 1, 2, 3 times, then you have the right to kill them. She's laughing and joking when she's saying all of this. Take a listen.
And he was constantly trying to get custody of my 3-year-old daughter and just to rub it in my face. And I went through a lot of years of this kind of hard stuff. And I was going to murder him. I was going to kill him, like the scriptures say, like Nephi killed him, just to stop the pain and to stop him coming after me and to stop him coming after my children. And I just felt I couldn't take it anymore. And I would go through the scriptures and find all the things like, if he comes against you once, if he comes against you twice, if he comes against you 3 times, then you can kill him. It says it in the scriptures. And I was like, there it is. There's my answer. I don't want to do anything that's wrong. I did not have a murderous heart. I just wanted to stop the bleeding.
Another 2021 update is that the prosecutor, Rob Woods, is planning to file conspiracy to commit murder charges against them when it comes to the kids. Now that Tammy's autopsy is completed, an attorney general in Idaho plans to file murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder charges against them both. This kind of gives us an idea of what the results are of the autopsy. While Alex is likely a murderer, it's unfortunate that he's not alive to defend himself in this case. It's likely that Lori and Chad will try to pin all of this on him, although with the newly found recording of her talking about killing her 3rd husband, hopefully the pieces start to get put together.
Hello?
Are you okay?
So there's section the property.
The house right now?
Yeah. So Mark means we'll be talking to you.
Okay. What, are they in the house?
No, they're out in the property.
Are they seizing stuff again?
They're searching.
Mm-hmm.
interested in is with the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to set up a call, logical.
Yeah.
So we'll see what transpires.
Okay. What do you want me to do? Pray.
What?
What do you want me to
Yeah,
do?
right. Well, yeah.
What can I do for you?
I'm feeling pretty calm. I would call Mark, though, maybe. Just talk with him.
Have you talked to him already?
I did call him, yes.
So he knows what they're doing?
Yeah. It's like a call from somebody else I need to talk to. I love you so much.
Okay, I love you. Should I try to call you later?
I don't know. I don't know. We can try, yeah. I'll answer if I can.
Okay.
I love you, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, baby. I love you.
Okay. Love you. Good night.